October the 13th, 1984. Williams, Arizona. About 500 people turn out for a party. There's a helicopter. There are men on horseback. There are free hot dogs, and a brand new Suburban drives through a paper banner. And Bobby Troop, the man who wrote Get Your Kicks on Route 66, stands up and sings his song and puts the name Williams into the lyrics. The BBC covered it. So did CBS and NBC and National Public Radio. And what they were all celebrating was the opening of a 6-mile stretch of Interstate 40 that took every through vehicle in America out of that town. Williams was the last town on Route 66 to be bypassed. Every other one had already gone. So the people in that crowd knew exactly what a bypass does, because they had spent 20 years watching it happen to their neighbors. They threw a party anyway. These are 7 towns that didn't get one. First, understand what these places actually were, because it's not what people think. They were not tourist towns. They were service stops, and the thing they serviced was freight and distance. Before the interstates, a loaded truck went through the middle of every town on its route at 25 miles an hour, past the cafe and the filling station and the garage and the motel. Not because anybody wanted the scenery, because there was no other road. So every one of those towns had the same economy. Feed them, fuel them, fix them, put them up for the night. That's it. That was the whole town. An interstate doesn't reduce the traffic. It moves at 400 yards north and takes away the reason to stop. The trucks still go past. They just don't come in anymore. Number 7, Texola, right on the Oklahoma line. They put a post office in there in 1901. 8S/Ja. And this town has my favorite fact of the whole list, because it sits on the 100th meridian. The state line kept moving, and Texola got surveyed 8 separate times to work out whether it was in Texas or Oklahoma. 8 times. Imagine not being certain which state you live in for a couple of decades. In 1930, there were 581 people there. There was a Magnolia service station, the Friendly Cafe, a place called Waterhole Number 2, and a bar called No Place Like Texola. There's a stone jail from 1910. One room with iron bars on the door. Interstate 40 went past in the early 70s. Today, there are about 36 people. Quick pause. My ebook, Every Mile Was Yours, collects more stories of the people and places left behind by America's changing roads. It's the first link in the description. Back to the list. Number 6, Glen Rio. And it's in 2 states at once, because the line runs right through it. Filling stations, a diner, a motel. There was a State Line Cafe and the Texas Longhorn Motel, which opened in 1955. Interstate 40 went past in September of 1973. The motel closed in 1976. 3 years. Glen Rio is now a historic district on the National Register. 31 acres of it, 17 abandoned buildings, and you can stand in the middle of it. It sits a few yards from the interstate at Texas Exit 0. That's the part I can't get past. It isn't out in the desert somewhere. It's right there. Thousands of trucks a day go by at 75, close enough to read the signs. Number 5, San Jon, New Mexico. Founded 1902. Grew when the railroad arrived in '04 and became a proper little commercial center. Service stations, cafes, motels. There was a garage called Old Route 66 Truck and Auto Parts. Smith's Cafe. The Circle M Motel. Interstate 40 bypassed it in 1981. And here's what makes San Jon different from the rest of this list. It didn't die. It moved. The fuel and the food picked up and relocated to the interchange on the north side of town. So the businesses survive, and the town doesn't, because the money now happens half a mile from where anybody lives. Population was 306 in 2000, down to 195 by 2020. Number 4, Cuervo, New Mexico. And this one is the cruelest. Founded 1901 as a supply point for the ranches, peaked in the 1940s at somewhere over 300 people. A stone schoolhouse, a church. Cuervo didn't get bypassed. Interstate 40 was built straight through it and split the town in 2. Not around, through. By 2000, there were about 58 people. The post office closed on the 10th of September 2011. Almost every building there is standing and empty. 2 houses have been done up and there's 1 man doing auto repairs. Somebody is trying to restore the schoolhouse and the church. Number 3, Two Guns, Arizona. Trading post, gas station, and this is true, a small zoo with mountain lions in it. That is the level of effort these places went to. You are on a 2-lane road in Arizona, in the middle of nowhere, and you need people to choose your stop over the next one. So you put a mountain lion in a cage and you paint a sign. It's abandoned now. The Canyon Diablo Bridge that carried the road is still there, built in 1915, and it's on the National Register. Everything at Two Guns was built to catch the eye of somebody who was already driving past. When the driving past moved, there was nothing underneath it. Number 2, Amboy, California, out in the Mojave. Started as a railroad stop, and then Route 66 turned it into a boomtown. A few hundred people living there and thousands going through. Interstate 40 bypassed it in the 1970s. There is one business still operating in Amboy, Roy's Motel and Cafe. That sign is one of the most photographed objects in the American desert, and people drive a long way out of their way to look at it, which is the whole thing in one picture. The road that made Amboy is gone, and what's left is a sign that people now make a special trip to visit. The exact opposite of what it was built for. It was built to catch you on your way somewhere. Now it is the somewhere. And number 1, back to Williams and the party. They fought that bypass for years. 6 miles of road, and they fought it, because they had watched every town east of them go under, and they knew precisely what was coming. They lost. And then on the 13th of October 1984, they threw the biggest party the town had ever seen for the thing that beat them. And it worked. In a way nobody planned. That press release went out, and it became an international story. The last town on Route 66, the BBC came. The businesses closed anyway, including the Grand Canyon Railway. But in the 90s, somebody brought that railway back, and the country had started to feel sentimental about Route 66, and Williams came back with it. It's a going concern today. Route 66 itself was decommissioned on the 27th of June, 1985, 8 months after Williams. So Williams is the last town the old road ever lost, and the only one on this list that got up again. Now, I'm not going to stand here and tell you the interstates were a mistake. They weren't. They're safer. They're faster. They have saved a number of lives that nobody can count, including some of ours. I've run both, and I am not nostalgic enough to pretend that hauling through the middle of 11 towns was better than going around them. But somebody paid for that, and it wasn't the trucking companies and it wasn't the drivers. It was about 100 small towns whose entire reason to exist was that we had to slow down. And here's the thing that stays with me. Those places didn't die because anybody stopped needing them. The freight still goes past Glen Rio, more of it than ever, faster than ever, 400 yards from the empty buildings. They just stopped being on the way. That's the whole story of this business, really. Being on the way is everything, and nobody who's on the way ever notices it. So tell me the one you remember. Not a famous one. A town on an old route where you used to stop. The cafe, the fuel stop, the place with the good pie. That isn't there anymore. Name it and say roughly where it was. Because somebody reading this stopped at the same place. And if you ran the 2 lanes before the interstate went through, what was the worst town to get a loaded truck through? Because everybody who did that has one. If you want more stories from the roads and towns the interstate left behind, subscribe to the channel. I'm Dale. Keep the shiny side up, and I'll see you down the road.